Luizos Papadopoulos, for those who don't know me, and I am the winemaker and owner of Molon Lave vineyards. I want to start by thanking all of our friends from Molon Lave attending the cruise, our new friends with our friendly wineries attending as well, Expedia that organized all this, and Uniworld and their crew for making this possible and giving us very nice service. Also want to thank Rapanic Cellars and their owners, John and Mary, and Philip Strother with Philip and Danielle. So, a little bit about us and to introduce the winery as well. We are from Greece. My wife Alexandra is here as well tonight, and migrated to the US in 1984. I am fifth generation jeweler, goldsmith, and we opened a business in 1984 in the outskirts of Washington, D.C., in Fairfax County, Oakton. We've had our business there for the past 39 years. And going back a little bit to explain the affiliation and the interest in the wine industry. In the early 1970s, while still in Athens, in Greece, we bought a farm outside the ancient city of Corinth. For those who don't know, Corinth is a city about 50 miles southwest of Athens in the Peloponnese. It has ideal climate for olive orchards, oranges, lemons, and of course vines, grapevines. Actually, a lot of the production of lemons and oranges ended up in Germany back before we were in the EU. Greece was in the EU, and also today. So we bought the farm there. There's three wine regions in Greece. One is the region of Nemea, which was 15 miles from where our farm was. The second one was in Nausa, and that's up in northern Greece. And the third one might be a surprise, but you would probably know it a little bit better than anywhere else, is Santorini. So another reason people know Nemea, that region, is in the mythical years, hero Hercules fought and killed a lion that he was one of his first heroic acts, and he found, legend has it that he found that the grounds there were very good for growing red grapes, and he made wine. This was around the 5th century BC. And now everybody has kind of adopted, the locals there, the term for red wines they produce there, that they're the blood of Hercules. Going forward now, we're back in the States. Our sister winery, Mediterranean Cellars, property that my parents bought in Warrenton, Virginia in 1989. At that time, we were all working together at the jewelry store. It's a family business. And when they retired in 1999, we planted our first vineyard at their location, where today stands our sister winery, Mediterranean Cellars. I don't know if anybody's been there or not. Whoever hasn't, it's kind of has its own unique characteristics worthwhile going to. 2003, we bought the second property where Molon Lave is currently, and planted our first vines. In 2009, we opened the doors to our visitors and start selling wine out of Molon Lave. A little bit about the name Molon Lave. It has to do with an ancient Greek phrase spoken by King Leonidas at the Battle of Thermopylae. I don't know how many folks are familiar with it. There's been a movie made that's pretty popular in the States as well. So, there were 300 Spartans surrounded by Persian troops of about 150 or 160,000 in a small protected area that had one little opening, and as the Persians were coming through, they were being slaughtered. At some point in time, Xerxes, their king, offered to try to frighten King Leonidas by saying, "I have so many archers that if they shoot their arrows, they will cover the sun."
Blacken the sky.
Yeah. Leonidas said, "We like that because we prefer fighting under shade." After a day or two, when he saw that he wasn't getting anywhere, actually there was a traitor that showed the Persians the way to surround the Spartans. Leonidas said, Xerxes told Leonidas that we're surrounding you, and you drop your weapons. And Leonidas knew what was coming up, but he said Molon Lave, which means come and get them. So it was a phrase of defiance, a way of an outlook of life, their own way. I thought it was neat. It was cool. We are from Greece. I always thought I would make a license plate out of it. I'm glad that I didn't. It would have cheapened the whole thing. And we ended up using it for our winery. Our winery, as well as Rappahannock Cellars and Philip Carter, were all located about an hour more or less from DC. It's a great spot to be, considering that I think only us in Loudoun County is close to DC. And DC is the greatest, or the biggest metropolitan area in the country, if I'm not mistaken, as far as per capita consumption of wine.
It's all our fault.
So I'm glad that we're all part of it. We appreciate that. So a little bit more. Our property is on 50 acres, as I said before. We have 2 tasting rooms that are open to the public. We have a large barrel room. It's about 3,000 square feet that we use for bigger events, some of them being weddings and private parties and so forth. We have a 4,000 square foot cellar that we're adding another 3 square feet as we speak. An 8,000 square foot pavilion, again for those who haven't been on the property. And we grow Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Chardonnay, let me see if I get them all, Chamberson that you had yesterday, Petit Verdot, Viognier, Chardonnay, I said Chardonnay, didn't I? Yeah. Riesling, yes. Petit Verdot, I said as
yes.
Well. I'm repeating myself. I'm trying to think plots. Yeah, Seyval and Muscat. I'm sure I've missed 1 or 2, but that's pretty much the gist of it. We make small batches of wine. We currently have between 17 and 20 different labels, but all of our wines are no more than 2 to 300 cases. So they're handcrafted wines and approached in a different way. I'm the winemaker. A good example of our approach to wines and varietals they represent Virginia is our Chamberson, which you had yesterday. Not a very well-known grape. We make three different. We do it in 3 different ways. We do it in the red that you tried yesterday. We have a bold rosé, which has more characteristics of red wine, but it is treated as a white. So we crush and press off with no skin contact and no seeds. And thirdly, our dessert wine, port style, Ariadne, 75% Chamberson and 25% Cabernet Sauvignon, with an alcohol content of, yes, yeah, it'll be interesting. So, am I missing anything here? Kosher wines. Kosher wines.
Oh, yes.
We also do we try to experiment with different styles of wines here in the States. One of them is who's familiar with Retsina wine? Retsina. It's a Greek style wine that is that's flavored by pine resin. There's people that love it and hate it. Therefore, we made 2 versions of it. One is for the fanatics that really like the Greek strong flavored one, and then one it's lighter, so it has a hint of it, but it's not very strong. And we have Mediterranean, our other winery, has the actual Retsina, which is white. We have a variant of it. It's called Cochinelli, and it's a rosé. And the approach is pretty much the same as the Katie's Charm, but also has some Vidalin. And you introduce the resin, the pine resin, during fermentation, and you control how long or not you want it to stay in to flavor the wine. There's a story behind this. In ancient Greece, there's three explanations, 3 excuses for them making the Retsina. One was there were a lot of swamps back then in Athens, and they found out that pine resin flavor repelled mosquitoes. The second one was they liked the flavor, and the third one is more than likely the correct version of this, is that they shipped a lot of wine on at the Mediterranean Sea. This is also a local wine to Athens, to the Athens region only. And they used to use amphora vases and seal them on the top with the resin. As the ship moved, the resin flavor got introduced into the wine, and people kind of liked it. After a while, got used to it, whatever. Today, it had fallen out of favor, even in Greece, for the past 20 years, because of how potent the flavor was. So they backed off, and they're making it lighter. Like I said, you will find it in specific places in Greece, taverns mostly, that do lamb chops, goat chops, and on the grill, French fries and Greek salads. That's their menu, nothing else. And if you don't like it under those circumstances, you're never gonna like it. We grew up with it, so it's kind of fun, and I enjoy that. Going back to our jewelry business, we started 40 years ago. We have a lot of association with New York. There's a lot of Jewish businessmen and women and firms there that we deal with on a wholesale level. And when they found out that we were opening a winery, they jokingly said, okay, we need to make kosher wine so we can drink it too. And we laughed it off. And then 2 years later, they came with a proposition, said, let's do it. If you're not of the Jewish faith, it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to be accredited to make that wine. There's agencies or agents that that supervise all this. One of probably the most known one would be the OU. It's a stamp that you'll see in a lot of products, including Coca-Cola, cereals, and what it does, it ensures that the product does not come into contact with, for instance, if you're making butter, it doesn't come into contact by mistake with lard from pork, which is a no-no. So anyway, we came to an understanding. They visited with us, interviewed us. Our manager of production is our friend Avi Jacobowicz. He's a diamond cutter, and he's the one who manages and orchestrates everything. Not to bore you with too many details, the way it works is we bring the grapes from the vineyard, drop it off in our crush pad, and then they take over. So the rabbi and his team comes over.
All observant.
All observe, yeah. And we observe, but they're hands-on. We're not allowed to touch the wine till it's in the bottle.
And they have to go to Shabbos every Saturday.
Every Saturday.
Yes.
Again, I don't want to bore people too much, but it has to do mostly with supervision and with separation. So the product has to be separate from everything else. And two wines, both you will have tonight, our Cabernet Sauvignon and our Chardonnay over there, are both kosher wines. And those are the only two that we have. In order not to compete with them, whatever else we come up with, it's not them, it's still our wines, our label. But in order not to compete one label to the other, that's why when we had dedication yesterday, it's not of the same batch. That one was handled by them with our supervision and told them what to do. This one is handled by us from day one. Am I forgetting anything? Any questions from anybody?
To note, it's delicious. If you're not Jewish, and you have Jewish friends and you're invited to a Seder, you will be a hit. This is not Manischewitz. And you leave the door open, Elijah will be there.
Another cool factor is that we're the only winery in Virginia that produce kosher wines, and we're the only farm winery, not commercial winery, on the East Coast that produces kosher wine. So it was fun and educational for us because we got to be exposed to a different culture and faith, and got to meet a lot of people through it. We're both from the same part of the world originally, and that was kind of neat. I think that's about it from me. Now, I know we all want to have some wine. It is said in the industry that wine tastes better with good food, good friends. We will have the good food later. We're in good company now. But I'm going to add to it that it's nice to have a pretty lady make the announcement and the breakdown of each wine while they're being poured. So I'm going to introduce my wife, Alex Papadopoulos.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for attending. This is such a lovely gathering in a beautiful place among amazing surroundings. I told my daughters I may never come home, so I've already warned them. The first wine that we are going to taste is our 2017 Chardonnay. This particular wine is aged for 1 year in neutral French oak barrels, which are 3 years old. Yes, they're neutral, but that barrel also gives it an idea of a little bit of character without being overwhelming. This Chardonnay that you will be tasting is kosher for Passover. going to experience some rich fruit notes of tropical fruit, such as pineapple, honeydew melon, perhaps tangerine right up front. And it's going to be followed by hints of toffee and hazelnut. So we're interested in what you think with this. There are some crackers and things on the table and water to cleanse the palate in between. So please enjoy our 2017 Chardonnay.
I hope you pick the right turn.
There's a hair on it. This way. How does your neck feel right now?
He's got a map that shows the water, the land, everything. I'm sure they've got a GPS like you do in the airplane for the general line where he's following on an autopilot. It's very sophisticated. So far.
Do you know people who've done this, like they said, where the water got so dirty, so yeah, they could go any further. They had to offload them on the buses and do different things. That would be disappointing. That was just part of the program. I talked to a lady that they wanted to do this. Now we get to certain places where
And this is not the one we had yesterday.
Sorry. Maryland? Perfect. Rocks. Okay.
All right, guys. Louisa, Alex, and Chardonnay.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers.
L'chaim.
You're right, look at
What you drank last night? Really? What you drank last night? Fresh. So I was completely ignorant of the kosher connection. Did you know that?
I think we're entering a lock.
No, we never introduced him. No. And when we say one of the you don't, it's not a bad thing, it's something that hints, it's not tasty, it's something, some kind of smell, flavor that triggers. You don't have to let your mind free. It's not.
Good job. Lisa.
There is no right or wrong. Everybody can have a different.
Nice job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I used to work there. When we lived in Chicago, I used to work in Northwest Indiana. And that was retired.
Where is it?
Well, it's like you said, he's taxes and jobs.
Yeah.
So,
Like a military installation. We're going into a big rock. This has to be I think it's the only big wall there is, right? For a boat this long. We can send it over through the line. What do you think? Join over to deck. On the Seine River, we did like this.
It's our Katie's Charm. It's a rosé. So this is what's coming up next. The Katie's Charm that we're going to taste next. It was named after Katie Papadopoulos, who's my beautiful mother-in-law, who we lost in July of last year. So I'm going to ask you that when you do take a sip of this, that you say a prayer and you send a blessing to her. She always loved the bolder rosés in Greece that were usually made from a grape called the Rhoditis grape. This wine was made in honor of her many years ago when we first opened the winery, because she's a charming, beautiful woman who will always live in our hearts, and therefore Katie's Charm. The color and the flavor of this rosé are more robust and more stronger than your general rosé that you will come across. It's made 100% Chambourcin grape, 100%, and it's been processed like a white wine, which means that the grapes were crushed and pressed immediately after harvest. They spent no time on their skins like a typical grape is processed, like the red grape. This wine is aged in stainless steel, and this is what contributes to its clean and bright taste. It's considered a semi-dry rosé, and you will experience flavors of strawberry jam and chocolate cherry and spice, followed by ultra smooth, crisp, and refreshing flavor. So enjoy it. Thank you. Yes, indeed, to Katie.
Katie. To Katie.
actually, it's not yours. There are certain stainless steel.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a big wow.
Yeah, there's some that you can see, like,
That's right. All right, you're right. Yes. You thought I was doing that. That's right. Order came in the lead. The dog, right? I'm gonna do my what's that kind of party? What's the guy's name? Hill party. Picture something.
To remember names.
I'm not gonna tell you.
That's the case in the neighborhood all the time. Like, we know all the dogs. We don't even worry about
Get off the water. So does Louis does not have an equivalent of Katie's I think I have, but I was just thinking that they both went in two different directions. What you're saying, they both wanted to dedicate a wine to Katie, both the rosé, but they didn't collaborate at all on this. Then when we talk about wines, and it's wines that Katie likes. I feel like those very someone
It's funny how
those guys just same age I am.
it's funny that you guys didn't know I was going to ask how many guys you know?
Thank you.
No, actually, he thought that I could have been one of their candidate officers. He went through the AOCS like I did for Gentleman Day. The last week of your training, you became the candidate officer to help with things.
Which is our Cabernet Sauvignon 2017.
Shepherd, that's actually her older.
Yeah, this is the red strong one. We are going like from light and then we finish with the sweet.
Yeah, it was like basic credit. This is a great deal.
Which one, the Katie's?
Are you telling stories out of school? My daughters are You're ready?
I said if the weather was good, listen to the end of my sentence. Do you remember I told you about that training I did in South Carolina where the guy took me out and they actually had to put their air out of the tires so they could get through the sand? This is a family with their 5 sons, construction company, and they had all the family So anyway, I grew up in a breakfast area. Everybody's very engaged, and all of a sudden, everybody's, I ended up paying attention to me, and they're looking out. There were the little ponies out there and their babies running around. I went, you know what, there's no way I can compete with that. We're taking a break. Let's watch this. I want to see it too. And when we've had enough of being running around, then we'll come back and we'll do this. That's just the way I felt like as we were going through here. All of a sudden, it's like, what's happening?
It's not good.
Oh my God, they were so cute.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you have your next wine. It's our 2017 Cabernet Sauvignon. This particular wine is also kosher for Passover. It's our red kosher. The Cabernet Sauvignon is aged in medium toast and neutral French oak barrels with a heavy berry nose. It's a very rich, very bold wine. Fruit-forward flavors of juicy blackberry and black raspberry are present. Raspberry jam, followed by hints of French vanilla, spice, and toasted coconut. It's a full-bodied Cabernet Sauvignon. It has rich and powerful fruit flavors. And tannins are present in the finish, but they're not harsh or bitter because of the age. Enjoy. This is a beautiful, beautiful red.
And it goes great with brisket.
I'm sorry? Is it Louisville? Is it 100% capsule? 100% cap. Yes.
So all those come from
This morning.
Where's your jump over? Were you on tour? Were you on France?
We're going down.
Big glass, right?
So I'm gonna have to need a twin Comanche to bring home wine from that seller's end.
But you won't have me in there, so that takes a different seat.
So
They won't give you as many good directions as
even south of the
you didn't buy a cup. Get the whole shop.
And I never really officially looked it up. But Chuck said 300 pounds in the back. Captain bag, whatever. It's pretty good amount.
Yeah, he did. And then he flew it to Warrenton, and then he visited in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Where was the cut? What state?
Where was it bought?
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah, so he picked it up, brought it to
By an Air Force pilot that's more anal than me, if that's possible.
and then he met Steve in Jacksonville. Steve jumped in and Chuck said, all right, fly it.
Oh no, I don't forget that as long as I live.
Chuck's
So
like,
Chuck, you gonna give me a little demo and take off? Do this. Lift off. All right. He never. The only time he flew, that was when Are you sure you know where you are? And we're like, I know where you are. I can see where you are. Right now we're okay. And then there was a thunderstorm coming from east to west. And I mean, it was like right at the edge of the airport. And I said, huh?
And I said, Chuck, I'm standing right here. I can
See the wall of water coming.
So you need to get
And we're a Beamar house, and you imagine, the runway is another 1,500 feet this way. We're on downwind, and I said to Chuck, you need to put her down. He goes, no, you'll do it. I said, I can do it, but we need to put it down now. And it just slips and comes down, and doesn't even go to the end of the runway. Puts it down on the runway, and literally.
He got it in there. We put the hanger behind it. We had 4 or 5 people in I could see it.
Yeah, when he said it was, I didn't think they were that.
Got to keep it. I can see whose house it's at. It's at Benson's.
And you're saying he couldn't?
Yeah, no, well, I'm just saying, I knew how quick that thing was going to hit us, and I can see it coming. I'm like, of course, it's Chuck, right? I don't know.
Two different worlds, so it's so funny. Chuck, we're flying along, and I'm flying, and he's got the iPad. And he was so asleep more than he was awake. He's got the iPad.
I think it's because as the landscape changes, you need to shift right without going like that. So, right, so if you get a change in topography, the boat will get stuck.
I've read several things about the and then the septic. Oh, yeah. Well, we really do see it. Right. And of course, the day was Saturday. So we're already talking about he's going to fly up. And I won't be with him. I'll be working with him.
Basically, the controller told you you're not where you said you were.
I will give up my seat so you have more wine.
We're right behind you.
Are we going down? Yeah.
What I'm scared about it is nighttime over there and daytime over here. Now that,
Steve was freaked. Well, I didn't get it. There's no shade.
on the 787, they got those tinting windows. I said, Julie, she thought that one window had just a unique sunlight into it. Julie. And I had to, one of those things, it's like, I'm surprised she can get Google out and go, check her husband out. I finally go,
It's like, you're a pilot, right?
I said,
The sun comes in the window.
I said, push the freaking button. It's going to finally, 10 minutes later, a button push, and she goes, oh, I guess you're right.
Coming up is our port style Ariadne.
There's no right answer.
Yeah, this is amazing. And I will say, 90% of the time I'm a white wine drinker, but I do like red. I can't drink it. If I
So this
drank
is,
red the way we
here,
do wine all day, I would have been
so you can drink this wine.
not all day.
Oh, no, it's not that big.
You know,
Red just kicks my butt.
you drink a lot of food, right?
Okay, I know what you're trying to do. Or everybody else is listening. Someone comes down and just says,
But sit down at dinner, right? Are you talking about right, what I'm saying is I could do what we've been doing here and having our first glass of wine at noon and then kind of going all day by the same bread. I don't think I could do that all the time.
Well, my point is one glass restaurant wine.
Thank you. Cheers.
You know, when you ask for it,
But even I think the best red, I'm not sure I can all day long the red and not feel more drunk.
well, you'll have to come up and try that.
I will.
I've done that season where you start early and just
Well, even each of the two of us came together. We are doing the it's a totally different thing, right? You don't wake up with a hangover or that.
And that's the same thing, right?
Yes. Right, absolutely. But then you drink a liter of it at a restaurant, they probably are going to feel a little bit more the next day. About the end of our museum thing today, I'm thinking, all right, I either have to drink or nap or do something. And as soon as I have my first class.
No problem.
I had that clear bat leader in my refrigerator this morning. I thought, is it wrong if I wake up and don't drink lunch cakes and have a glass of water?
I think that's what it is.
drink it, get drunk, and fall down, no problem.
To be clear, I just really wanted out of my own
Steve used to worry when I'd come to Austria with the kids and say, are you just going to sit in a corner with a bottle of wine and watch the children while you're there or not?
We were support your lifestyle.
This one's back in Greece, right?
Well, he says Louisa steps up and games.
So you're not a big pork person, right?
I really do like the aspartic a
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now on our final wine for tasting tonight. It is our port style wine. First, what we're going to talk about is what does port mean? Port is only allowed to be called port if it is made in Portugal. So that's why we refer to it as port style, similarly to champagne and that kind of thing. It's exclusive to the region. So having said that, Port wine is typically a richer, sweeter, heavier, and higher in alcohol volume than other wines. It's caused by the addition of distilled grape spirits, basically brandy, and it fortifies the wine and it stops fermentation before all the sugar is converted to alcohol. And this results in that higher alcohol content, which is about 19% to 20%. Only one, as we said, only wines from Portugal are allowed to be called port, which is why we call it port style. It's commonly served after meals as a dessert wine, and we refer to ports as the port styles as either ruby red or tawny port. The ruby red is obviously a brighter red, ruby in color, and the tawny port has that brown color. Both of them have a sweet taste, both of them. However, the ruby ports have a more fruity berry flavor, while the tawny ports have a nuttier caramel flavor, if you will. Ruby ports do not need to be aged for long periods of time, which is great news. Where the tawny ports are considered the aged ports. What you're having this evening is the Ariadne 2014, which is considered a ruby red port, hence the beautiful, beautiful color that you see. Ariadne is considered the ruby red, and it's been aged in barrel for over 10 years. Ours is aged in over 5 years, but ruby reds in general are aged over 10. Ours is aged in a retired whiskey barrel, and you will note flavors of rich blackberry, black raspberry, followed by decadent dark chocolate.
Oh yeah.
How can you go wrong? It's rich, it's sweet, and it's smooth. Just like my husband.
Salut!
Enjoy it with any dark chocolate or any rich dessert. And I will share with you that our port style is 75% Chamberson and 25% Cabernet Sauvignon. And what is interesting is, if you'll think about it, since last night, you've tasted various variations of Chamberson, which is a Virginia grape. You tasted a strong red, a bold rosé. You tasted the Chamberson wine on its own. And now tonight you're having it in the port style. So it runs a variety of flavors if you know how to make good wine.
Very versatile.
Very versatile. Enjoy, everyone. Thank you for your attention. Beautiful. Cheers to all of you. Thank you very, very much.
Prost!
Prost. Prost.
So you hear songs in German and Austria, they call it a Prosit. So Prosit. So that's sort of the variation on Prosit. You're such a worldly man. I have no idea.